Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello and welcome to the course on dealing with materials data. Currently we are going through the sessions on describing sampling distributions. We have considered a random sample from a population with a common distribution function f with a mean value mu and variance sigma square. Then we found that sample mean is an estimator of population mean mu and the sample variance is an estimator of population variance sigma square. Then we made an assumption that the population itself is a normal with a mean value mu and variance sigma square, and then in the last session we saw that the sample mean itself in that case is distributed as a normal with mean mu and a variance sigma square by n, where n is the size of the sample, and the ratio of sample variance to the population variance is distributed as a chi-square with n minus 1 degrees of freedom. Then we went ahead and showed that if you take the ratio of difference of sample mean from the population mean and divided it by the estimated population variance by sample standard deviation, then it is distributed as a t distribution with n minus 1 degrees of freedom. Now you note that in all these cases we have assumed normality in the previous case and derived certain distributions. Now normality again assumes that the random variable, the population size is infinite. The random variable varies from minus infinity to infinity and it can take any value. So your population itself is a kind of an infinite population. What if the population is finite? And this is the case we would like to study here through an example. We are going to consider the case of a hypergeometric distribution for a finite population size, and we would also like to show that if this finite population size is very large, then it can be approximated by a binomial distribution. Remember here the previous approximations that we have talked about is binomial distribution approximated as exponential or binomial distribution approximated as a normal distribution in which the number of Bernoulli trials were considered large. But now we are going to consider the population itself as large. Remember there we were considering the sample size tending to infinity, here we are going to consider the population size itself tending to infinity. Let us start. Capital N, let us say, is the size of population. Small n represents the size of a random sample as always. P is the proportion of population with a certain characteristic, say delta. For example, its number of defectives, its number of successes, its so the characteristic could be defective, characteristic could be success. So there is some characteristic delta, and we know that the population, in the population, P proportion of population has a characteristic delta. The number of equally likely samples of sizes n that can be drawn from the population is obviously capital N choose small n. It is capital N choose small n, and let x be the number of members in the sample with a characteristic delta. The question we are trying to answer is what is the probability that the capital X takes a value small x? What is the probability that x is equal to small x? So, let us work it out. It is a case of a hypergeometric distribution. If you recall the introduction of discrete distribution functions, we talked about hypergeometric distribution. So, the size of population with characteristic delta would be capital L multiplied by P, because P is the proportion of population which has a characteristic delta. So, the size of population with a characteristic delta will be NP, and therefore obviously N times 1 minus P is the size of population without delta. Now X is chosen, X members are chosen from the population because X members have the characteristic delta. Therefore X members have been chosen from the population size NP, and different ways that we can choose is NP choose small x, it is NP choose small x. So, this many ways you can select the X members of the population having a characteristic delta. The number of ways rest of the members have been chosen or have been drawn, they must have come from N times 1 minus P population because they do not have the characteristic delta, and therefore that has to be N multiplied by 1 minus P choose N minus X. And therefore probability of X is equal to X becomes NP choose X multiplied by N times 1 minus P choose N minus X divided by total number of trials, which is capital N choose small n. We have chosen n members, small n members from the capital N, so that comes in the bottom. So, if you apply the hypergeometric distribution, expected value of X is N times NP divided by N, the small n multiplied by capital NP divided by capital N, so it is NP. While the variance is this, it is small n multiplied by capital N P divided by capital N multiplied by capital N 1 minus P divided by capital N multiplied by capital N minus small n divided by capital N minus 1. So, here the n gets cancelled. So, we have n P times 1 minus P, and this last term remains. I think I will show it more clearly. So, here n gets cancelled. So, what remains? This remains actually n P 1 minus P divided by multiplied by capital N minus small n divided by capital N minus 1. And if you let capital N become large, it means that if n tends to infinity, you will find that this variance tends to this value. In other words, this tends to 1, this tends to 1. This is very easy to show. I will leave it to you to show it. So, this tends to 1, and therefore, it is said that when population is very large in relation to its sample, when the population is very large in relation to its sample, so the sample size is not that large, then hypergeometric distribution can be approximated by binomial, because remember, in binomial distribution, in a binomial distribution with NP, the expected value of X is NP and variance of X is NP 1 minus P. So, this shows that when population is large in relation to its sample, because it is necessary here, distribution can be approximated by a binomial distribution. And then you can further say that when n becomes very large, that is, you also consider its sample to be very large, you can further approximate. In the R sessions you will come across some of the problems that you will solve, in which you will need this approximation. So, now we summarize what we considered today. We considered the case of finite population, case of two possibilities of having a characteristic delta or not having the characteristic delta. We showed that it is a case of a hypergeometric distribution, and then we showed that when the population size is large in relation to the sample size, the hypergeometric distribution can be approximated by a binomial distribution. We have come a long way in understanding the statistics while we want to understand the materials data and its component, both in the theoretical part that I am trying to cover and what has been covered in the R sessions by Professor Gururajan. In next few sessions we are going to consider the case of parametric estimation. Let us recall what we have done so far. We introduced random variables and their expectations. Then we also talked about certain discrete and continuous special random variables. Then in the last few sessions we discussed what is a parametric and non-parametric case. That is, if you now we are in the realm of the population. There is a population for which we are trying to make an estimate or to judge or to understand what that population is like, and this we can do through a small sample that we draw from the population. This sample we expect that it is a fully random sample, and it gives us on a small number all information that we may require from the population, so that we can estimate or we can judge what the population is like. So, if we are aware that the population is coming from a specific distribution function, then we need to estimate the parameters of the distribution. We need to talk about the parameters of unknown parameters of the distribution. But suppose the form of the distribution itself is not known, then it is called a non-parametric case. As we mentioned in the previous sessions, in this particular course we are going to concentrate on the parametric session, that is all the cases which are referring to parametric cases. Then we also studied under parametric cases the sampling statistics, in which we talked about sample mean and sample variance, and we showed that the sample mean's expected value is actually mean of the population, and we also showed that sample variance, its expected value is also population variance for the population. Now we want to get into what is called estimation the parameters. See, in sampling statistics what we did is that every distribution or every population has its mean value and its standard deviation, which is it's a tendency of central tendency where the data will be generally located. As we said in the descriptive statistics, it talks something like the center of gravity of the data, and the dispersion actually says how the data is spreaded. But suppose I say that a particular data is coming from a log normal distribution, or I say that particular data is coming from a Weibull distribution. I also specify that it comes from the 2 parameter log normal distribution. Then we would like to know what these parameters are, because once you define these parameters the whole distribution is known. So, in a way you know the whole population. Now when you want to find the parameter, you need to estimate it again from the small sample that we have drawn from the population, and therefore in this few sessions we are going to talk about parametric estimation. We will be assuming that a population has a certain distribution form. We say that population distribution has a certain form and it has certain unknown parameters, and our endeavor in the coming few sessions is to estimate these parameters in various ways. So, we would like to consider here the case of point estimator. There are other methods of estimation. For example, there is called an interval estimation also, that will also follow, but in this particular session, today's session, we are going to consider the methods of estimating parameters through point estimation, in which we will cover maximum likelihood estimator and method of moments estimation. Then we will also talk about interval estimation in the future sessions. Then we will have estimation of scale and shape parameters of 2 parameter Weibull distribution. We are going to give examples of Bernoulli as well as normal, but they are very straightforward. So, we would like to give an example of 2 parameter Weibull distribution, which is bit involved, and we will also talk about methods of evaluating point estimators, that is unbiased estimator and robust estimator. Though I must mention that this interval estimation we will cover in subsequent sessions, and similarly the methods of evaluating point estimators we will also cover in the subsequent session. In this particular session we plan to cover maximum likelihood estimation for parameters. So, let us start. We have already talked about it, let us repeat it. Why estimation? As I said, f theta be a distribution function completely defining the population, only the parameter theta is unknown. So, if we know the parameter theta, then we know the whole population, and therefore, we want to consider the case of theta not known, and we would like to estimate theta in order to draw inference on the population. There are 2 types of estimators. One is called a point estimator, in which it finds a single quantity as an estimate for unknown parameter theta, while the interval estimator gives an interval within which a value theta may lie with a probability attached to it. This probability which is attached to it is either called a confidence level or it is called a significance level. I am sorry, it comes in hypothesis testing, but actually here it is called a confidence level of the interval estimator. So, for example, we can say that a theta will lie in the interval between say -3 and +3 with a probability of 95%, or I may say that theta will lie between -4 and 4 with the probability of say 68%. I mean, you can give variety of probabilities, but this probability is to be derived. So, you can have an interval estimator with a different level of confidence. As I said, in this session we are going to talk about maximum likelihood estimator, but in completeness we are going to talk about 2 methods: maximum likelihood estimator along with method of moments or moments matching estimator, which is also known as MME. I have particularly chosen this because it has become very common with many softwares and also with respect to the R programming. So, it is better to know its merits and demerits with respect to methods of moments. Of course, when we talk about the evaluating the point estimator, we will go in further details. So, let us start. This session we are going to talk about maximum likelihood estimator. So, let us begin. Let x1, x2, xn be a random sample of size n from the unknown population distribution, where unknown is only the parameter theta. Thus, x1, x2, xn are independently and identically distributed as f theta. If f sub capital Xi small xi theta is given a PDF of the random variable xi, where I varies from 1 to n, a typical random a typical element or a typical member of a random sample has a distribution function, a probability PDF, that is a probability density function as f of xi theta. Then the joint, because they are independent and identically distributed, the joint PDF of all the n members of the sample, let us call it f of small x1, x2, x3, xn, given the value of theta, that the parameter is theta, will be a product of all the PDF of each member of xi which are identical except for the value of xi. Here x1, x2, x3, I have you please note the difference between the capital Xi and the small xi, and please recall capital Xi are the random variables, small xi's are the realization of respective capital Xi. So, it is x1, small x1, x2, xn are the realization of a random sample of x1, x2, x3, xn, all x capital here. It is important to realize that joint PDF, that is this function, has x1, x2, x3, xn known, only unknown is theta. And as far as the population is concerned, we can recognize the population only through its random realization of the random sample, and therefore, whatever information that you wish to have with respect to theta is all contained in this joint distribution function, and therefore, this joint distribution function is given a special name, and it is called a likelihood function of parameter theta, because it contains the likelihood where what the parameter theta can take a value. Because again let us repeat, what I am trying to say is that the population is unknown, only thing we know is a random sample that we have drawn and the realization that we have made. So, it is an abstract phenomena which we say that a random sample of size n is drawn. In reality, what we see is the actual realization, the small x1, x2, x3, xn that we observe. This is our data. Small x1, x2, x3, xn is our data. So, data has all information possible with respect to the unknown parameter theta, and therefore, this joint density function is called a likelihood function of theta. Now, we would like to find out theta, and one of the philosophy is that take the value of theta which maximizes this likelihood. Take the value of theta which maximizes this likelihood. This sounds a very logical argument. So, here we wish to find out the maximum likelihood function, and at which point it will become maximum, that theta we would like to call a maximum likelihood estimator. So, we have that. So, we would like to maximize the likelihood function of theta, and that estimator we are going to call the maximum likelihood estimator. Now, this is a purely little math, that if likelihood function is maximized, then log likelihood function is also maximized, and we will see in future this log likelihood function makes life easy in order to find a maximum mathematically. Generally, the maximum likelihood estimator of theta is denoted by what is called theta hat, as it is shown here. Let us see how do we actually do it. So, I am going to consider 3 examples in this session. The first example is that of a Bernoulli parameter. So, consider n independent Bernoulli trials x1, x2, x3, xn, with a p as a probability of success and p is unknown. Okay. In that case, you know that the xi can take a value either 1 if the trial is success, or it will take a value 0 if the trial is failure. Okay. So, we can say that the probability mass function, we do not have a probability density function, this is a discrete case, and therefore, we have a probability mass function. So, probability mass function that xi takes a value x, where x is either 0 or 1, is probability to the p to the power x multiplied by 1 minus p to the power 1 minus x. And now we want to find a maximum likelihood estimator of unknown parameter p. So, we must find first a likelihood function of p, which is nothing but the joint density of x1, x2, x3, xn, and that we can find out by simply multiplying the densities, because they are all independent and identically distributed. So, we get the likelihood function of p as a product of p to the power xi multiplied by 1 minus p to the power 1 minus xi. Simplifying it, we say that it is p to the power summation of xi multiplied by 1 minus p to the power n minus summation of xi, n comes by summation of 1s. Take log on both sides. Remember, we said that maximizing likelihood or maximizing log likelihood, it is going to give us the same answer with respect to the parameter theta. So, here we take a log function of the likelihood, and you see how it nicely simplifies. To take a derivative of this is a very tough, this is very simple. So, we get the summation of xi multiplied by log p plus n minus summation of xi multiplied by log 1 minus p. Recall that in this whole equation only p is unknown, xi's are realization either 0 or 1, and we already know them. So, taking the derivative with respect to p and equating it to 0, we get the following equation. And if you solve this equation, you get that p hat. Remember that now this maximizing likelihood function value of p is called p hat, it is MLE, it is maximum likelihood estimator, and that value p hat is 1 over n summation of xi. In other words, it is x bar, it is a mean value of the total realization of sample of size n. Okay, let us consider another example. This is a continuous distribution. We take a normal distribution with two unknown parameters, mean of the distribution and variance of the distribution, mu and sigma square respectively. So, here again the likelihood function of mu and sigma square, given the realization x1, x2, x3, xn of the n sample size, is multiplication product of 1 over sigma square root 2 pi exponential 1/2 minus 1/2 xi minus mu sigma whole square. And if you take the logarithm, life becomes much easy. It is n by 2 log of 2 pi minus n log sigma minus summation of xi minus mu whole square divided by 2 sigma whole square. I am not going through the derivatives of it, but if you take the derivative with respect to mu and with respect to sigma square, please remember you have to take a derivative with respect to sigma square and not sigma, because here sigma square as a single entity we want to estimate. You will find that when you take the derivatives and equate them to 0, you get two equations and they will beautifully solve as mu hat, that is maximum likelihood estimator of mean of the population, is the average of the population of the sample, and the variance of the maximum likelihood estimator of the variance is the 1 over n summation of xi minus sample mean whole square. Please remember that this is not capital S square. Please recall, this is very important to note that this is not equal to capital S square. Remember that capital S square is 1 over n minus 1 summation xi minus x bar whole square. Now this is x bar. So mu hat and x bar are same, but they are different in the denominator. So please note this, that maximum likelihood estimator is not the sample mean, it differs in the denominator. Sample variance has denominator as n minus 1, maximum likelihood estimator of population variance has a denominator of n. Let us take the next example. Now you see, so far I have given you examples in very beautifully, you get a closed form solution for maximum likelihood estimator. Well, these are the lucky cases. This does not happen all the time. Here I would like to show you the case of 2 parameter Weibull distribution, in which we will at the end will get the 2 equations or one equation that we need to solve iteratively to find the value of maximum likelihood estimator. Let us go through it. Please note that I have given a reference here. Please note that I have given a reference. It is good to read, this is freely available on internet for downloading. You can download this particular PDF and go through it. You will get a taste as to how people tend to derive this kind of estimator. Anyway, briefly I am going to discuss it here. So let the random variable x be a Weibull distribution with 2 parameters, the scale and shape. Scale is alpha and the shape is c. Then it is denoted as fx is equal to this, where x is greater than 0, alpha is greater than 0 and c is greater than 0. Now we would like to find MLE of alpha and c. Here it is easier to make one transformation so that the calculations become easier. So if you take another parameter theta, which is a function of alpha and c, alpha to the power c, then this density function very beautifully simplifies to this, and this is easier to work with to find the maximum likelihood estimator. And once you find it, you can always revert back and find out the actual estimator of alpha and c. So here c is as it is, so only alpha is replaced by theta. So let x1, x2, xn be a random sample with a Weibull distribution with the changed parameter theta and c. Then the likelihood function of theta and c is given by this. It is simply a product of the function that we have PDF that we have considered here. So it is a product of n such PDFs. If you take the logarithm, it becomes n log c minus n log theta plus c minus 1 summation of log xi minus 1 over theta summation of xi to the power c. Now if you differentiate log likelihood function with respect to theta and c, again I am leaving these calculations to you, please verify them. It is important that you have a practice for doing this. It gives you the feeling what goes on inside instead of memorizing it. So it says that in that case theta hat can be expressed in terms of parameter c, which is 1 over n summation of xi to the power c, and c can be estimated from this equation. It says that 1 over c minus summation xi to the c multiplied by log xi divided by summation log xi to the c is equal to average of log xi. It is equal to average of log xi. So in a way, if you look at it, this is a weighted average of log xi, where the weights are xi to the power c, and this is the simple average of log xi minor, and this is what the equation is. And therefore, you please note that this equation based on the data has to be solved iteratively. You can use Newton-Raphson method, you can do secant method, I mean you can choose any method and solve this particular equation to find its 0. That is going to be your maximum likelihood estimator of C, which is C hat, and then you replace in the equation of theta the C hat here. Actually in this equation I should have everywhere written C hat, so let me make that correction. So here it should be C hat, this is C hat, this is C hat, this is C hat, and therefore if you solve this equation numerically, you can use Newton-Raphson's method, or you can use a secant method. Newton-Raphson works out very well, but you can use either method and find a 0 of this function. You have to take this stay on the other side and you find the solve this iteratively. Once you find the C hat, you plug that C hat into the expression of theta hat, and what you get is an estimator, maximum likelihood estimator of theta hat. So, with this 3 examples, let us summarize what we learned about maximum likelihood estimator and what we talked in this session. There are 2 types of estimators. We said there is a point estimator and there is a interval estimator. In the point estimator, we introduced a maximum likelihood estimator, where the likelihood function of unknown parameter in terms of joint distribution of the data is taken and it is maximized, and the place where it takes the maximum value, the parametric value which makes it maximum is called the maximum likelihood estimator. The examples of Bernoulli trials and we found the estimator of probability of success. Please note that estimator is also the sample mean, which is same as it is also the sample mean is the estimator, which expected value of sample mean turns out to be the probability of success. Remember that MLE may not have all the time this property. Then with respect to normal distribution, we talked about maximum likelihood estimator mu, which is same as sample mean. However, we found that the maximum likelihood estimator of variance differs from the sample variance in the denominator. We then showed that every time finding maximum likelihood estimator is not a easy task. At times you end up with a set of equations or a single equation which you need to solve iteratively. Now in the next session we will move on to discuss the method of moments estimator. As I mentioned in the previous session, we are now going through a process of explaining parametric estimation. Briefly, the idea is that there is a population for which we know very little, and we would like to know more about the population in order to make more inferences about the population through observing a small sample. It is a very common practice, and I would like to briefly explain here why do we do that, because in the area of production of some metallic components, we would like to guarantee a certain quality or a certain parametric value for that product that we give. For example, if we are giving a certain flat product, and we may say that the flat product has a certain strength property. Now we cannot test each and every product to have what strength property it has. So all the product produced in an industry is the population. But what we do is we draw randomly a small sample, test their strength properties, and then we declare that this is the kind of strength property our population, our production will have. How to go about analyzing this data, the small sample realization that we get to come up with the values for the strength properties? This is the question we are trying to answer through parametric estimation. So, we talked in the previous session that there are two types of estimator. One is called a point estimator, which would, for example, give you the exact value of, say, yield strength of the product. There could be another estimator in which we give an interval estimator. So, we say that instead of saying that the yield strength will be exactly 1300 MPa, we instead say that it would lie in a certain interval way for 95% of the time. It means that 95% of the product which will come out of this industry will have yield strength falling in this interval. We started discussing in the previous session about the point estimator, and we talked about maximum likelihood estimator, in which we said that we know the population distribution, but we know the form of the distribution, but we do not know the parameter of the distribution. So, that parameter is, say it is, if it is theta, then we said that take a joint density function of all the sample realization that we have got, which is independent and identically distributed. So, it is simply a product of their individual densities, and then this function contains all possible information that you can get from the sample for the population with respect to theta. This is what we call the likelihood function of theta, unknown parameter, and then we maximize this likelihood, and the point that gave you the maximum value, we called it a point estimator, maximum likelihood point estimator of the parameter theta. We talked 3 examples. 2 examples, Bernoulli trials and normal, were very simple and straightforward, where you take the derivative of the maximum likelihood function, equate it to 0, and then you find what is the value of the 1 or 2 unknown parameters. But then we also took the case of Weibull distribution, in which we found that you have to find a solution using numerical methods or iterative methods. So, now this time we want to talk about method of moments estimator. We will again give the examples of Bernoulli and normal, but we will also like to point out a shortcoming of method of moments estimator by giving one example. Suppose we have a random sample again of a size x1, x2, x3, xn coming with a common population distribution f theta, and then let us denote mu1, mu2, mu3, mu so on and so forth as a raw moments of distribution function f theta, and let m1, m2, m3, m etc. correspond to the sample raw moments. Let us recall the kth raw moment of a population is defined as expected value of x to the power k, while the sample raw moment of level k, that is kth sample raw moment is defined as 1 over n summation of xi to the power k. Now, what we do in method of moments is that we equate the population moments with the sample raw moments. We take the population first raw moment and equate it to the sample first raw moment, population second moment raw moment, and we equate it to the sample second raw moment like this. Now, if there are q number of unknown parameters, then we take the first q raw moments from the population and first q raw moments from the sample, and we equate them and we solve these equations, because on one side when you talk about the population moments, there is an unknown parameter theta in it, while the sample raw moments are not unknown, because there is a realization of data and from data we can calculate it. So, we have an equation with q unknowns, q equations with q unknowns, and we need to solve them simultaneously. Let us take an example of Bernoulli trial, which is the simplest of the kind. x1, x2, x3, xn come from a Bernoulli population where the probability of success is p, and xi is 1 if trial is success and xi is 0 if trial is not successful. Then you know that probability of xi is p to the power x 1 minus p to the power 1 minus x, where x takes on a value 0 or 1, and there is only one unknown parameter which is p. So, we need to compare only the first raw moment of the Bernoulli population and the first raw moment of the sample. The first raw moment of sample is a sample mean. So, we have to compare expected value of x is equal to sample mean, and expected value of x in the Bernoulli trials is p, and therefore, the p curl, this is the notation I have used, p curl is a method of moment estimator of Bernoulli parameter p, probability of success p, which is equal to x bar. Remember, we got the same result in the maximum likelihood estimator. This is not a rule, this is an exception. Anyway, let us continue. Another thing which will look like a rule. If you take a normal distribution, we take a sample x1, x2, x3, xn. Instead of calling it every time random, I have chose now to call it independent identically distributed sample, which is called IID sample from a normal distribution with mean mu and variance sigma square, where mu and sigma square are unknown parameters. The distribution, now there are two parameters, so we need to have two population raw moments and two sample raw moments. So, the population raw moment, population raw moment is mu, and the second raw moment is sigma square plus mu square. Okay. While the sample raw moment is sample mean, and it is summation of xi square over n. This is the second raw moment. Now, if you equate the first moment with the first population moment with the first raw sample moment, you get the mu curl is equal to, that is the MME estimator or method of moments estimator of mean value of normal population is same as the sample mean or sample average. Now, you find that you have to equate the second moment, that is second moment of population with the second raw moment of the sample, and if you simplify it, you will find that the method of moment estimator of variance of normal distribution sigma square curl is equal to, actually this is MLE of sigma square, which is, we call it sigma square hat. You please confirm this. This is also a good case, but now let us consider the case where this may not always hold true. And this is why I am going to, I have decided to discuss this method here. Method of moments is a very attractive method, and as you saw in the two simple examples, they very easily give us in a very much simpler manner the maximum likelihood estimator for the unknown parameters in the case of Bernoulli trials as well as in the case of normal distribution. Remember, maximum likelihood estimator, you have to find a likelihood function, then take a log likelihood, then it takes derivative, then you equate to 0 and then you solve the equation. Compared to this, in these two examples you must have seen that finding a method of moments estimator MME is much simpler, but at times there is a disadvantage connected to this method of moments estimator, or at times it is called moments matching estimator. Sometimes they are inconsistent with the data, and number of times they tend to be biased estimator. This we are going to define later, but here I would like to show that it may not be very consistent with the data that you have got, and one example will suffice for that. Please note, this example I have picked up from the Wikipedia, and I have given the reference at the end. You are also welcome to go through and read through it. It gives a very good description of method of moments. So, let us consider a uniform distribution with two unknown parameters A and B. I hope you recall, when x is distributed uniform with parameter A and B, it means that the density function of x of f of x is 1 over b minus a if a is less than x is less than b and it is 0 otherwise. This is the uniform distribution function. It is a continuous uniform distribution function over the interval a b. So, let x be a uniform random variable where a and b are unknown parameters. So, there are two parameters. So, the first two raw moments of the data and the population need to be compared. So, the first raw moment of the population is the average, which is a plus b by 2. The second raw moment of the population is a square plus ab plus b square by 3. You are welcome to calculate it out, it is very simple because our function itself is very simple. Now you consider x1, x2, you remember every time we say that x1, x2, x3, xn is a random sample. So, I am taking a specific sample from the uniform distribution and its realization is like this. It is 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. It is a sample of size 5. It is a sample of size 5 and these are its realization. You remember we used to write x1, x2, x3, xn, small x1, x2, x3, xn. This is what it is, my n is 5. Then the first raw moment of the sample is the sample mean. So, it is 1 over 5, right, and the second sample raw moment is summation of xi square divided by n. So, it is also 1 over 5. Now, you equate m1 with mu1, which is the first raw moment of the population, and m2 with the second raw moment of the population. We get that A curl, which is the MME estimator of A, has to be written as m1 plus or minus this. This is only simplification of these two equations. Please note that these two equations have been simplified to write that A curl can be expressed in terms of m1 and m2, while B curl can be expressed in terms of only m1 and A. Further simplifying, you will find that A curl now equals to 1 over 5 minus 2 square root 3 divided by 5, and B equals to 1 over 5 2 square root 3 divided by 5. So, it is A is minus 0.49 and this is plus 0.89. Now, you see, we are saying that the data has come from this interval. Can you imagine how 1 can fall in this interval? Zeros are fine, but 1 not fine. 1 cannot fall, and this is the inconsistency, and this is what I wish to bring it out to you, that method of moment estimators are easy to calculate and very attractive, very easily these days available on variety of softwares including R programming, but be careful when you use it. It is much better to use the maximum likelihood estimator compared to matching of moments estimator or method of moments estimator. Then why do we have it? It is a natural question, why do we have this estimator? Well, sometimes finding maximum likelihood estimator is difficult, finding any other estimator involves lot of numerical calculations or very complicated equations. At that time we fall back on the method of moments estimator, but what this example tells us is that we have to be very careful, we have to solve it, and we cannot say that these are the good estimator unless we put it through certain tests and certain observations. So, with this we summarize what we discussed just now. We discussed the method of moments estimator, and we said that it is based on comparing distribution raw moments with the respective sample raw moments. So, if you have q unknown parameters, you take q distribution raw moments and equate them with the corresponding q sample raw moments, you get a q set of equations and you have to solve them simultaneously. We gave two examples in which it actually resulted into maximum likelihood estimator only. It was a very simple example of Bernoulli trials where we tried to estimate probability of success. Then we took the normal distribution where we tried to estimate its mean and variance, but through the uniform distribution giving a one very specific sample that we may observe, we found that there is a disadvantage connected with the method of moments estimator, that they give inconsistent result. Of course, I have not showed you whether how they become biased, but they also tend to be biased. This is an additional information. I have given you the reference to the Wikipedia from where this example is taken. You are welcome to go through it. Thank you.